I'm thinking about the skills and the values that it took to even like do this work that y'all are doing at Uproot Talent. I don't know if they can be put in nice, neat boxes, and they don't have to be. But I'm just wondering if there's a way to capture, like, what is it skill wise or value wise? What are you using?
Yeah, I think the first word that comes to mind is bold. Like, you really have to be bold. And my definition of bold is being able to say the thing that sometimes we're thinking, but then get caught up in the what if they think this of me? What if they say this? And I think at the end of the day, boldness, you have to think like, here's my objectives and my goal. And I'm going to say the thing regardless what the external factors might be, what might happen to me if I say the thing, what people might think of me and
Yeah.
all of those things, because at the end of the day, I'm reaching that goal. Or for me, I've shared what that goal is for me. I think the other is you have to be intentional. I feel like intentionality is something that
Mm.
comes in mind, and sweat the details. If you are somebody who is sweats the details, meaning everything that I do has a purpose. There is nothing that I don't do in my process, in my workshops, in my job board that doesn't have intention behind it. And I think one of the words that have been shared with me in terms of feedback has been that our processes or our work is very intentional. And I think that is like the biggest type of compliment you can give me. But the other things, and these are all like transferable, right, to a lot of different roles. I think you definitely have to be somebody who has foresight, so you can read the room, right? So those are two things. So one, reading the room, being able to pick up on cues, on body language, being able to pick up on what's not said and make meaning of what's not said, and being able to understand and be empathetic to other people's experiences. And I don't mean I have to put myself in other people's shoes every time, but I do think you have to be part of empathy is listening. You have to be a good listener. People love listeners. People don't like people who talk a lot. I mean, really, I was a kid who talked a lot. I was a kid who was like straight A's, but ooh, she could just be quiet a little bit more during class. Like I was that kid.
Right.
So this is like the perfect job for me. But I was also the kid that my mom told me to mind my own business and not adults' business. So I was like listening to my aunts and like, because I grew up with raised by my aunts and my family was always in their business. So I feel like one of the skills that even as kids, we say, oh, we think that that's a bad trait in a kid. I would challenge that and say, like, that's an excellent trait to cultivate, right? Like, that's
Mm.
an
Mm.
excellent, that's a future DEI practitioner for sure. But those are kids who can read the room, and those are people who can read the room and understand like what's going on without, you having to tell them what's going on. I think that's important. And then I would wrap up and say, you have to follow up. The follow up is important. And so if you're going to say you're going to do something, do it, especially in this work. That's easy, that especially at the executive level of searches, that's how you break trust. And what you don't want is to break trust with people. And so if you're going to say you're going to do something, you're going to get it done. And I don't mean like tasks, I mean your word matters, right? Your word has weight and integrity. And if you're going to approach it a certain way, if you stand true to your process, stand your ground, but follow through on that and follow up are two things that come to mind. Because the moment you don't do that, then you start to break trust and then people don't trust you. And it's hard to interrupt bias. It's hard to get to
Yeah.
people's hearts if people don't trust you. And that's one of the ways that I've learned people earn trust is doing what you actually said you were going to do. So yeah, I would say those things.